I'd like to introduce John Shulli, candidate for U.S. Senate, Republican, conservative, true conservative, maybe the only true conservative candidate, but you can be the judge of that. And we're happy that you're here. Remember to throw your questions in the chat so John can answer them. And we will get started. Hi, John.
Katie, thank you very much. Great intro. And thanks everyone for joining tonight. I know tonight is kind of a big night for Donald Trump. President Trump. He's doing an announcement at 9 o'clock. So we'll be sure to end prior to that so you have time to go ahead and watch and see. So a little background about myself. Born and raised in Delaware, almost 30 years in federal service, either military or civil service. I've been to Iraq, South Korea. I got my degree in aviation computer science from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Prescott, Arizona. I know it's a mouthful, but with that, ROTC into the Army, and 30 years later, I'm a colonel, full-bird colonel in the United States Army. Right now, I'm a instructor at the U.S. Army War College in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. And my time in uniform, my time as a civil servant has spanned many continents, the United States, Asia, Europe, and in all of those different locations, I've come to appreciate and see how people from those different countries view the United States from their eyes. And that perspective has helped me understand how the world sees the United States, how our actions affect the world, and how it affects Americans. So that's a quick little background on myself. But why am I here? Why did I decide to go into this political world? I'm as much of a politician as I am as a cat is a dog. I mean, it's not quite what I thought about doing in the future. But the reason why I moved into this arena was when I saw President Trump shot. Is when I saw Charlie Kirk murdered. When that happened, that was, to me, a crossing of the Rubicon. We moved from political rhetoric to actual kinetics. Our politicians were being murdered. And that's very dangerous for a republic. So I look for ways to help, to join efforts to move the country forward. And I found that Delaware needed a U.S. senator with a bold vision, good leadership, and understanding where we need to go into the future. And to contrast that, we have here in Delaware, a Delaware Republican Party who is stuck in the 80s, stuck in the groupthink that only a Mike Castle can win in Delaware. This idea that a left of center candidate that can straddle that centrist ideological pathway worked really well in the 80s and 90s. But as the left moved into the scene, as globalism was strip mining our middle class, the country was moving in two different directions, more to the left and more to the right. And we were noticing here in Delaware that the dialogue, even the moderates, were being forced to move with the left. So you have, at least in Delaware, the Working Families Party, who was a direct link to the Democratic Socialists of America, communist. So we have folks in the Delaware Assembly. We have folks in the Wilmington Council. Now we have folks going to Congress from New York. So you're seeing this shift where America was kind of in the center in the 80s and 90s, and now we polarized. Now in this new polarized environment, you can't just run a light blue candidate against a blue candidate. You're not going to win because folks are going to look, well, do I need a blue one or a light blue one? They're about the same, so I'll just go with the one I know. It doesn't work. And the Delaware Republican Party has been trying this for 20 years and failing each time. It's time to provide contrast. It's time for a true Republican run. Show the contrast. Show that I am a conservative. I am for the American system of economics. I want to make America first. Make America great again. It's the way to bring together all the things that made America the great nation that it is. So for the last, let me go through the history of what is the American system of economics. We've used this system as Hamilton used it to kickstart America, as Abraham Lincoln used it to rebuild the country after a devastating civil war, as Roosevelt used it to build the arsenal for democracy. Now, about halfway through the Cold War, Nixon cut us off at the gold standard. With that disconnect from the gold standard, it left a window, an opportunity for globalization to move into the scene. So the globalists, for the last 40 plus years, have been strip mining our middle class. You've had multinational companies who are able to straddle different nations and arbitrage labor resources to their advantage and to the disadvantage of America, particularly our middle class. Those jobs left. Those resources were pulled elsewhere. All those left were service jobs, a barista, an Amazon driver, etc. But those jobs don't pay enough for a great home. Those jobs don't don't build a strong family unit. And without that strong family unit, you have kids, we have parents who are maybe 2 or 3 jobs, mom and dad are both working, there's stress in the environment. So the kids feel that stress and they take that stress to school. Now times that by X, the kids will have that stress, and the teachers at school are turning into social workers instead of teachers. I want to turn that around. When you have great jobs, when mom and dad are not stressed because of the environment, because of they have great paying jobs, maybe one parent can stay at home, or they're both working, but the stress is very low. Now little Johnny can go to school, and a teacher who has a classroom full of folks who are not bringing all that negative energy into the classroom can teach. That's just step one to making our schools more cohesive, more effective. And then we can do other things on top of that that make it more effective. But now you will roll into the era of AI. And so what we have structurally for our schools is something built for the 19th century. So back then we had to have workers move through a assembly line type of education system, which is what we have now. Because when they went to the workforce, when they went to the factory or the business sector, they had to manually calculate. They had to do things by hand. But as technology and time rolled on, we got calculators, we have computers. Now we have AI. So our kids are still stuck in the 19th century model of schooling, and they're being pushed to go toe to toe with a calculator, and they're going to lose every time. We got to recalibrate how we teach our kids. Teach them how to be creative. Teach them a classical education so they understand rhetoric, so they understand even music. Because what those kids will be able to do when they have critical thinking skills, being creative, and understand the harmonics of life, they can take a fleet of AI bots and move them as a symphony to create new things. That's extremely powerful. And that's where AI is a plus for the United States and the world. Now, the future of Delaware. I can see, let me rewind. What is the problem now with Delaware? The problem is, well, what is Delaware? Is it just a vacation home in the beach? Is it a corporate headquarters or a PO box in Wilmington? And in between, just farmland and logistics centers? When I was overseas talking to folks would ask me, where are you from? I'm from Delaware. Oh, Delaware, great. Yeah, what city is that in? It's not a city, it's a state. Okay, well, what happens in Delaware? Well, it's the diamond state. Oh, so you build diamonds? Well, no, it's just small and valuable. But we have blue hens. Oh, we have blue hens. No. So folks don't understand what is Delaware, even inside Delaware, let alone outside of Delaware. I think for a vision for Delaware, we have a way forward where we turn Delaware into an innovation hub. Delaware, because it's such a small state, we should be able to turn more quick than any other state in innovation, in deploying new forms of energy, particular small modular reactors. That being nimble in an age of AI, in an age of information moving at the speed of light, having a government system, having a people who are ready to turn on a dime to innovate and react to the environment that they're around. So to make this effective and also make this in such a way that we're not dropping data centers and making our land look crazy and ugly, we consolidate. We have maybe a small data center with powered by nuclear energy, with research facilities nearby and attached to universities. So you have bright minds of students coming out of University of Delaware or elsewhere using the compute from a data center that's powered by, say, nuclear energy. It's using helium instead of water for cooling. That technology exists, is coming forward. And it has research into trying to have the ability to do research to answer some of the most wicked questions we have in our environment. Now, if you're a company, that's three great things that you need for a company to grow and to be innovative and to be competitive. Power, brain power, actually humans, and the compute, the machines. With those three combined in that kind of renaissance engine, companies are attracted to Delaware, and we can start innovating on the fly and building for the future. Now, the small modular reactors like talk about, we've been using this technology for almost 50 years. It's been in our submarines, our aircraft carriers, and we've done just fine. It's combat tested. Our sailors don't glow at night. They're doing just fine. So the innovation of commercial ready reactors is already in the works. In fact, some companies may be ready to deploy first actual commercial ready reactors by 2028, give or take a year. It will take us longer to find a natural gas turbine to provide all the energy we need in Delaware, because it's a 5-year wait period, because everyone is pushing for nuclear for energy. Delaware, because it's small, nimble, quick, Kenny is small, nimble, and quick, can take advantage of this nuclear renaissance and lead and be an innovator. Now, let's not forget, as we grow, as we learn how to use the technology around us, we can't forget about being healthy. So making America healthy again is paramount. In fact, it's a no-brainer. I want food that's healthy. I want food that doesn't have all these chemicals or insecticide, what have you. These are things we can change. We have the technology. We have the understanding to make our food healthy. To let folks not worry about what's in their food and worry about other things. But to get there, we need transparency from big food, big pharma, who push back against such things. Because there's a profit incentive. Folks don't want to, change. Especially big industries when there's billions of dollars at stake. But it's our food, money, health. There's a balance that should weigh towards more health and not so much profit. So this administration using America, making America healthy again as an avenue, as a guideline to move forward and make our food healthy again is the way forward. All right, moving on. Now, election integrity. We're going to talk about, President Trump is going to talk about this later on tonight. The Save America Act is paramount to instilling election integrity in the United States. As we saw in California, a month later, they're still counting the votes for the mayor of LA and governor and other things. And it's legal the way it's being done, but is it right? Is it the fact that you could have three candidates, one, two, three, Spencer Pratt being the second one, who was the only Republican in the running for mayor. And then after the day of vote, day after day after day, the third person kept getting more votes than the other two combined, and she overtook Pratt, and Pratt's out of the race. But it's all legit. It's all okay. It's not okay. If we can't trust our elections, we can't look at and go at California and say, okay, that seems fair, that's fine. Then our republic is in serious trouble. All right. Let's talk about the geopolitical situation in the United States and outside the United States. So over the past year, you've had President Trump do some pretty astounding things. And let me put this mental model in your head. Imagine this giant laying on the ground and he's These ropes are all tied around the giant, keeping him still. He can't move because it's so tight. President Trump is one by one clipping those cables to free the giant. The giant is America. Clip one cable, U.S. aid. No more aid going to, say, Central America to boost leftist governments. What's happened in the last few months? A red wave that happened in South America. All these governments, which were being funded by, say, U.S. aid or leftist organizations, that aid is gone, and now the people have a way to actually have their voice in South America and Central America. That's one cable cut. Another cable, Panama Canal. The Chinese were doing their best to own all the companies around the area and to monitor and control access with the canal. Done. That's over. Another clip. Venezuela. How spectacular was that? Our American military was able to take Maduro and his wife and move him straight to a jail cell in New York City. Another cut. And in that cut, we did two things. One, we stopped the narco terrorism coming from Venezuela. And two, we laundered money flowing from the South American, Central American countries had a huge, huge bottleneck with cutting off of Venezuela. So all that money that was going through like the Cayman Islands or all these offshore accounts, severely stymied. Very good. Next, Cuba still in the works. That cable hasn't been quite yet, but we're working our way through. Greenland. Greenland's very interesting. Most folks just think of it looks good on the map because it's in the right area and matches North America. But more importantly, where it is on the map makes it a good spot for our Golden Dome. So if any missiles come flying over the horizon, Greenland will be the first to see it and maybe react to defend America. And the second thing, something that's not really said a lot, satellite communications. So up there in the high north, as you have satellites doing a polar orbit around the Earth, one part of the Earth that doesn't really move that much is the polar caps. As they spin very slowly and at the top. It's a great place to have a radar station to communicate with all the satellites, hundreds of them flying over. A lot of bandwidth, a lot of constant communication, and very, very important for national security. There's already one that exists up in Norway, just north of Norway. We need our own. And that's another avenue of approach, another cable to be cut to free America from the constraints of trusting other nations to take care of our telecommunications. Well, that's a lot, isn't it? All right, let's go on to the big ones. Iran. Why Iran? Why did we go into Iran? A lot of questions. Well, we took out the nukes last June. Why did we have to go back? Again, freeing the American giant. We've been in stasis for decades. But one by one, these cables are being cut. And there's no one on this planet who's alive who's ever seen America at 100% strength. We're going to see that once we're freed from the oil cartel that is the Middle East, the forever wars that are in the Middle East. We've been stuck policing the Middle East for 47 plus years. The Iranian action that we're doing, the action we're doing in Iran, is freeing us from that and moving the geopolitical, political economy of oil production from the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Mexico. That's huge. It's moving the dynamic. All the funding, the insurance, the production, all that is moving from point A, the Persian Gulf, to point B, the Gulf of America. That, ladies and gentlemen, is how we'll free this giant completely. Obviously, there's still the Russia-Ukraine dramas going on. That will be contained to, I think, in the future. But freeing the American giant, freeing us from all these constraints that's been on the United States for decades. We've had globalism keeping us down. We've had our ports, our jobs being moved overseas. And we've had military limitations because of a lot of strategic minerals being offshore to, say, China, offshore to other nations. All that has to come back. All that coming back in the form of being protected by tariffs, the one big beautiful bill with all its financial incentives and tax incentives, and the $18 trillion that President Trump has made over the last year coming into the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, the next year or two, for sure, you'll see more of it in the by midterms. The American giant will awaken. Okay, that's my extremely long and boring monologue. Sorry about that. But I'm ready for questions. Katie, over to you.